All right, we are live. Welcome to M&C Aquatics and welcome to Beyond the Dirt Live. Today I have Mike from M&C Aquatics with me. I had to reschedule with you because the last time I had you scheduled on, I was feeling under the weather. I'm finally first starting to feel a little better now. It's been like a 3-week thing, so I'm glad to have you on. Thanks for coming on, Mike.
No problem. I know
So,
how it goes to be sick a lot.
oh God, yeah. I don't know what it is with what's been going around lately. I started with it, went through it, thought I was starting to get better, and then it started to come back again. Wound up
Yeah,
going to the urgent care, telling me I had bronchitis and giving me more meds, and it was just like, oh my Lord. I was glad it's finally gone that downhill turn of it now.
yeah.
So, well, morning, Jim's Fish. Morning, Branton. How you guys doing? So, if you want, Mike, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
M&C Aquatics. I've been kind of in the fish hobby off and on for like 45 years. I kind of like you. I keep them kind of the old school way. I don't really get into the big highlight, big fancy stuff. I used to keep a lot of monster fish and all stuff like that. And now I've kind of gone back to just doing the smaller stuff.
So, what kind of fish do you into now? Like I looked at your channel a little bit. You do shorts, but I see a lot of your stuff on social media too. So,
Oh, I've got,
cool fish.
like I've got angelfish and rainbows and some gadids, a lot of limia, um, green dragon plecos, just oddball stuff.
Nice. Are you
A lot
into
of shell dwellers.
breeding too, or is it just really just
Yeah, somewhat. I don't really do a lot of it. My shell dwellers I can sell like my local store, and you know, if I
yeah,
get an overabundance of them, I kind of sell them off.
yeah? It's kind of sounds similar to myself. I like to challenge myself breeding my fish in my fish room, and I find it, like I said, a challenge and it's part of it. But I don't do it really just to breed for profit. I like to try to have them breed naturally in their aquariums if I can.
Right.
Not all of them will do that for me, but if I can, great. And I prefer to like to try to grow the numbers of my fish through breeding them myself for the most part. And if I get extra, sure, I'll sell them because I do go to some fish shows probably like twice a year, and I'll sell some of my fish and plants there.
Right. Like right now, I've got ruby birds that are laying, that are scattering eggs around.
I'm trying to think of those. My wife's cousin's got another kind of barb. I don't think it's ruby barb. He was telling me about the other day.
I got rubies and tigers and gold and spanners that are they're in quarantine,
Nice,
and snake skins.
nice. So you said you were into monster fish. What kind of monster
Mm.
fish were you into?
Oh, I had everything from doveye to black nasties, Texas cichlids, just mods and ants.
Nice. Did you keep them in separate tanks? Did you have big
Oh
monster?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That I had that doveye was in a 310. If I didn't keep it by itself, it'd kill anything that went in with it.
nice. Yeah, I've never kept them. I've seen them. They look very interesting, but yeah, they look like they could be pretty mean.
They're quite personable fish actually, but they can be mean.
Yeah, that's cool.
Got
Oh,
stitches and had to have stitches in my arm from that one of mine biting me several times.
really?
Oh yeah,
Well, there's definitely some dangers into sticking your hands in the tank, then, huh?
yeah, it can be interesting.
Yeah, that's one thing I could say. I don't have any scars from the actual fish that I keep so far. Although I
Oh
do
yeah,
get a little worried once in a while when I stick my hand in my puffer tank. He's kind of a gentle giant, I think, but you just never know with him.
right.
I think he's freaked me out a couple times more than I freaked him out. I was sticking my hands in there once a while back. I don't remember what I was doing because I usually do a lot of my maintenance and stuff like in the early morning hours before everyone gets up. And my tank at that time was upstairs in the living room area, and I was doing something, and he jumped and like darted, but I don't think he really was going for me. And I screamed like a freaking girl. I like, hit the top of the lid. I'm like, oh! I'm like, oh crap! Did I wake up the entire house? Like,
I've had an Oscar and a red devil do that. I had them both in the same tank, and they both kind of lunged at me at the same time. And whoa!
Yeah, yeah. That's. I don't want to get bit by that puffer.
No.
Like I can hand feed him. I've tried it a few times and it's okay, but I just worry because you just never know if you like overgoes his grasp to try to get the piece of shrimp or whatever I'm giving him, and he gets a chunk of my hand. So it's like I usually use a little tweezers and I'll feed it to him by hand with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I never tried. I was never brave enough to try and hand feed that dovey.
Yeah, I mean, if he already gave you a scar,
he would. I mean, the tank I had him in, I had, I don't know, 1/4 inch glass on top. He broke several of those glass lids. So
that's crazy. Sorry.
And I already know what his bite felt like, so yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I could imagine. I would not want any of that. Anyway, so yeah, that's cool. Not the scars, but to be able to have the different types of fish within those time periods you've been keeping them.
Right. And well, at one time I'd bought a guy's fish room out, and I was up to almost 200 tanks.
Oh, really?
And health issues, I just kind of had to downsize.
Unfortunately, that can do that. So how many tanks do you have now?
Right now I have 17.
And you said you like to keep the tanks the old school way, which I've seen. So what is that for you? Can you explain that? Like,
most of my filtration is air. It's either under gravel box or sponge filters.
Okay. Do you keep any like dirted style tanks, or is it all just?
I have a couple that I've set up dirted. I tried it several other times and it just didn't work out. Now I'm trying it again. Okay. See how that goes.
Yeah. I like them, obviously. My fish room is full of them, but I mean, it's not the be all end all way.
Right.
You can grow plants and do anything in pretty much any type of substrate.
I've got a 40 long over here that has nothing but black diamond blasting sand in it, and it grows plants like mad. Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to do with that 55 gallon I set up a while back. I made a video on it. I didn't dirt it, more specifically because I really wanted to try to show that there are other ways, and because the dirted tanks, I feel like lately have become like the hot commodity thing. Like everyone, like people want to try it and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Fine. It's cool. It's still my favorite way to do it, but I want to show, because I have kept planted tanks with just dirt, with just gravel, with a mix of the two before. I want to try to do it with just the sand, but not use any fertilizers or anything like that.
Yeah. See, I don't use fertilizer or root tabs or none of that.
Yeah.
I've got one 20 long over here that's just got jungle val in it, and it's nothing but gravel at the bottom of it. Yep. It's completely overtaken by that jungle val.
Yep. Yeah. So I just want to try to do that one the exact same way I do the dirted tanks, but not have the dirt, and see what kind of results I can get. Now, that in the past, when I had like the sand and gravel tanks, I would use fertilizer quite a bit, but I don't really see the need. If you have enough fish in there with waste and natural fertilizers and the organics breaking down, I think it should be just fine as well.
Right. And a well-established seasoned tank.
Yep. Yeah, I even have a few tubs, totes that I use with just the sand. And
I've got a couple tanks that were my grandparents. They're the old metal frames.
Really?
And they've been running for, my God, close to 30, 35 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
They're running on under gravel filters.
Nice.
And those are probably the most stable tanks I've ever seen.
Okay. I tried under gravel filters once a long, long time ago. It was before I knew. Well, the journey of my hobby started probably around 30 years ago. I knew nothing. Grabbed tanks, just put gravel, filters, fake plants in there. Never did that for quite a few years. And then I always had like, I mixed, but I mostly liked more predator type fish. But then when we had the kids and I wanted to set up a community tank for the first time, I'm like, oh, let's try this under gravel filter. So I put that in there with a bunch of fish, and everything kept dying, and I had no idea why. I'm sure it was because all the fish I was getting were ones that I shouldn't have been. Like I kept getting green spotted puffers. I didn't know those are ones that should be brackish. They didn't tell you that. And fish would die, and it was like I gave up on it. So and didn't blame the under gravel filter. I just at that time still. I mean, even halfway through that I was in the hobby, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing other than this did this and this did that. Got out of the hobby for a little bit, and that's when I got in watching YouTube and learning.
The biggest mistake a lot of people make with under gravels is they clean them too much.
Mm-hmm. Is that something more you need to just like set and forget?
I clean mine maybe once a year.
Now
just
that's
pull the uplift tube and stick the siphon down it and just suck all that out. Okay. Put the uplift tube back in it and let it go.
Nice. Okay. It seems pretty easy, especially if you only had that.
Yeah, the dirtier they get, the better they work.
Okay. That almost sounds like a substrate.
Yeah, pretty much. And I've used them with sand. I've used them with gravel. And I have the same results with them either way.
Nice. That's good.
So I'm still running box filters from the 60s.
That's cool. I love to see that. There's so much advanced technology out there nowadays that people use that aren't necessarily needed, but it's just like everything else in our lives nowadays. All these things that they give.
Everybody wants the next bright, shiny thing.
Yep, pretty much. It's like, oh, I can do this with that. Like I got a fish food feeder I got from Higer that I'm working with right now, and I can have an app. I can feed my fish from work when I want to and stuff like that.
Right.
Do I need that? No, but I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
No, I won't necessarily use that for like my main tanks. I'm using it for a fry tank right now, just so I can feed 3 times a day, but when I'm not around. But yeah, that type of stuff.
See, I've even got some of the old diatomaceous earth filters, the old diatom filters. I still got some of those. I've got some. Eheim made them back in the early 70s. They were kind of like a canister in a way, but they're sand filters. And they still work pretty good.
Wow. That's cool. You mentioned you had the metal frame tanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's actually
slate bottom.
Okay, there's a fish store in my area. I'm in Wisconsin, up in the Green Bay area. It's like right outside the shadows of Lambeau Field, pretty much. He's got all metal frame tanks in there. He kind of calls his fish store like, I think, what did he call it? Like a museum fish store, basically, because of the old style tanks he has in there. I think that's
right. See, like my local fish store, everything in there except for their saltwater tanks are all under gravel filtered. They've been in this 3rd generation store. And a lot of them tanks have been running, for 40 years. He's slowly been phasing out the metal frames that start to leak. Mm-hmm. But like I told him, the way we used to seal those up was you drain them out, take everything up, then you'd heat that tank up with boiling hot water, mm-hmm. and it loosens that asphaltium up and it reseals the tank.
Wow. Some knowledge I did not know. That's cool.
But once it gets to a point where it's just dried out, you can't reseal them. You got to take them, you got to completely reseal and break them down. These have never been resealed yet. So, but they've always had water in them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that scares me sometimes with my tanks. They're obviously not the metal frame one, but just actually one.
Yeah, I've had a few. I had one I had to reseal here about 2 months ago. it just started leaking out of nowhere, and I just drained it, moved my fish, drained it, cleaned it out, re-silicone, scraped all the old silicone out, took it apart, put it all back together.
Yeah. I've only
Stop.
had to reseal one, but luckily it was before I completely set it up. I got it from my wife's cousin who was breaking down his fish room. It was a 29-gallon. I put the substrate in it and started filling it up, and then I saw a little bit of water dribbling up.
Right.
Like crap. So I had to take it all out, went and bought some silicone, started putting it on, and realized I grabbed white silicone instead of clear.
Oops.
And I'm like, I'm already balls deep in this. I'm not freaking going and getting clear stuff. I don't care if it's white.
Right.
Like one of the tanks I have down here. I'm like, I don't care. So it's a good reminder and a good
I
story.
had to, when I bought that fish room out, I got two 40s. One was glass, one was acrylic, and I had to reseal one of them. But them could be a little fun to do.
Yeah, that one I did as an eyesore. I put way, way, way too much silicone on. It's like, I
It
didn't
don't leak.
It's like I was like, that was the first time. I was like, I want to make sure I get enough in here. I don't want to screw it up. So it's like, okay. Initially, it was just going to be like a quarantine type tank when I freaking did it, but then when I wound up switching everything over to dirty tanks, I'm like, well, this is going to be part of it. I don't care. It's
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, see, one of the dirty tanks I've set up, it's pretty heavy planted,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got some native gambusia in it,
Okay.
and I'm actually turned the filter off on it because I'm going to try running no filter.
Yep. I've had no issues. I don't run filters and I don't run air at all in any of them. I used to run air at first, just because it was that paranoia part of it. When I first took my filters out, I tried to go no air. That was probably like around 2 years ago. And I found a couple tanks I was having some issues where one of my tall tanks over here, I had a rock pile in the center of it at one time, and I was noticing all the snails in my tank were all huddling to the very top of that rock. I'm like, well, that's weird. Usually they only do that when they're trying to eat something that's dead. And I'm like, didn't really understand it. And then the tank next to it had a bunch of guppies. And then I noticed they were kind of gasping at the top. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I saw the snails must have been trying to get to the highest point to try to find oxygen or whatever the situation was. So I wound up putting air back in all of them. And then, like I said, it was probably, I don't know, was it like 6-9 months ago again? I just kind of decided just to pull the plug on all the air too, pulled them along.
It's kind of a fine balance.
Yeah. I've had no issues really. At first, what I did before that is I had my air on timers to run just in the middle of the night when
Right.
the level is going to be at its lowest.
Right.
And then a little bit after the lights come on, then it would turn off. But I was having no issues, so I decided just to take it completely out. And like I said, I've had no issues. I'll come down here in the mornings when the lights come on just to make sure, that's if the fish are going to be gasping for air, that's going to be the lowest points that the oxygen levels will be in those aquariums at that time.
Right.
And I see nothing. So I'm just like, we must be good. As long as I must have enough plant load in every one of those tanks really to compensate it, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the no filter part of it, yeah, I don't have an issue with filters. I think they're very, very beneficial for a lot of things. But for me, with these fish room here, I would always run sponge filters, and then that takes up space and real estate within my aquarium that I can put more plants.
Right.
and I prefer to do that.
Yeah, I've run everything from sumps to canisters, hang-on bags, I hate sumps. I hate them. I hate canisters. When I bought that fish room out, I probably gave away 20 or 30 canisters. The sumps, I just turned them into other tanks.
Yeah. Never tried sumps. I had one small canister when it was for my puffer tank before it was a puffer tank when I had it upstairs in the living room. So I had a hang on the back, but it was so annoying when your big tank is right by your TV and all you hear is the water splashing. And I just like, ugh. And then if I had like a sponge filters in there, you still hear the hum of the air pump and then the water splashing at the top. I hated that. So I got a small flugel canister filter for that tank at that time, and I made a DIY spray bar and put that under the
Yeah,
water.
I've still got one canister here. It's an ADA, but the flower pot. I turned it into a flower pot.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
It's the only good use I found for them.
Yeah. I kept mine just in case. You never know. But yeah, I actually used the hose from it for my outdoor summer tubs of the summer. I hooked it up to a.
Yeah, see, I've got ponds. So I've got a 300 gallon. I got a 32,000 gallon. And then the other one is, oh my God, I couldn't tell you how many gallons it is. It's over an acre.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of fish do you keep in them, or is it just?
They're just natural.
Natural.
They're just natural ponds.
Cool.
My 300 gallon out here, I mainly just kind of summer tubbing type thing in it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, but I've got goldfish in it year round. But I will move other fish out there with them.
Nice. I want to get a pond in my backyard at some point. I live in the city though, and the wife kind of forbid me for now because her daughter's 8 and we got to place it in the backyard yet. And
my parents have one. They've had for probably since I was about 8 years old. There's koi in there that have been there since I was that young, and they're, my God, probably 4 foot now. They're every bit as 30 years old.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. Someday. Yeah, she told me after the daughter gets old enough where she don't need to play set no more, then we can talk again.
Right.
Already got it mapped out where I want to put everything. She don't know that. I don't think she's watching.
Yeah. So. It was probably one of them preformed ones and above ground.
Yeah, I can do that. I wanted to put a liner one in and make something big and more extravagant, but I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a lot of work though too, especially with removing all that dirt.
If you know somebody, with an excavator and a bobcat and a dump truck.
Yeah, that's true. It's just for my house.
Which I do.
Yeah, where my house is though, the problem is I'm going to have to take fence down and go through neighbors' yards to get to my backyard.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest issue. Like I put a patio in probably like 15 years ago, and it was like 15 by 15, and I was just like, I did it all by hand. And
right.
Digging. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so much dirt. It's like I never thought there'd be that much dirt just from digging down like 7 inches.
Right. You got any low spots in your yard, it's a good time to fill them in.
Pretty much. I made new landscaping all along the fences in the back of the house, the backyard, put some underneath my deck. I had a coworker at the time that had a farm that was looking for dirt that could fill in some
dirt.
Yeah, so they came with a trailer. I loaded their trailer up twice. I was like, oh my Lord, so much dirt.
Yep.
So yeah.
Like here, you get down about a foot and it's all red clay.
Mm. Where are you located about?
I'm in Kansas.
In Kansas? Okay. Yeah, I'm up in Wisconsin, so the dirt's
I'm on one side of the state and Skull Aquatics is on the other.
Okay. Nice. Very cool. So
he was here not long ago.
Nice. So you have a live stream then on Sunday nights.
Yeah. The Wave Makers.
Correct. Cool. So what do you guys talk about and do on there? Just normal, have fun?
We talk about it, a little bit of everything. We do talk fish and fish rooms and things like that, but just kind of life in general.
Yeah.
What's going on.
It's sort of where I'm trying to take this as well. I do like to ask some questions to get to know the people better and people them better as well.
Well, for me, I found, I've watched so many live streams and different things over the years, most of them, nothing wrong with it, but most of them are just kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah, definitely.
And me and Curtis and Jimmy were talking, and it's like, well, why don't we just do like a hangout stream basically, and just whatever, just kind of throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And so far it's been fun.
That's
You
the
know,
most
we
important.
invite other channels up. Like last week, like I said last week, we had Jeremy from Aquarium Domain. Tonight we're having Branton on. Um, we've had Alex from Fathom Aquatics has been on. I've had quite a few on.
Nice.
I'm working on a few other big names,
Mhm.
bigger channels that so far they've, you know, agreed to come in. It's like, and it just surprises me. You know, I'm a small channel. I'm a nobody really. And the bigger channels come in, they hang out, they have fun, they want to come back.
Yep.
You know, I've had Ron from Garage Aquatics on. Ron, you know, and any of them are welcome to come up anytime they want.
Yeah. That's cool.
I'll drop the link in chat, and if whoever wants to come up, they can come up. I don't care.
Nice. Yeah, I just find it fun being able to talk and chit chat with people outside of just like the chat and videos and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, and we don't talk just fish only.
Yeah.
We talk a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Said
But we do have a limit. You know, we
oh
can't
yeah.
go. There's some things we don't go on, but
No, I hear you.
for the most part,
No, yeah. I mean, I think I think to be able to connect with people more, it's better to be, you know, show some of your human sides of who you really are.
exactly,
Trying to say, you know, we can
exactly.
fish because we are fish community, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's what you should do at some point. But to be able to talk about ourselves and not, you know, like what's going on, this,
It shows the more human side of people.
exactly. That's what makes it more wanting to connect and want to come back and watch more. Um, but you said you reached out to some of the bigger name YouTubers. I've done the same as well. I'm a nobody either. I'm very small. You know, I got a big guest for the end of December. I don't want to announce who it is yet because it's so far away. Because you never know what might happen.
Right.
So I'm excited for that one. So that should be very cool. But I get it. I reached out to numerous ones. You know, I would say 90% of them don't reply. Which
so far, all of them
it.
I've reached out to. So far, all of them have replied.
Nice. That's good. I haven't had that luck so far, but
I say there's one I'm waiting to hear back from that if I can get them to actually come on, it's going to be, yeah.
Cool.
Going to surprise a lot of people.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, there was one I was supposed to do a collab with this summer and was talking to this person in email and it all was looking good. I told a few people and then he just never followed through on it. So I was just like, well, okay, so I learned my lesson there. I'm not going to talk about it really until a few more weeks from now when I get confirmation again, and then we'll be good, and then I'll announce it. But yeah,
right.
So that's the fun part with these live streams too. Like for me, when I got into YouTube, videos are my number one priority. I love making videos. I love watching videos. And I didn't think I'd ever want to do live streams, just because you're putting yourself out there talking live. Videos, I can sit there and I don't like that. Delete,
right?
You know, so I still feel uncomfortable at times talking because I don't know, especially when I'm by myself more than anything.
Right.
But it's an opportunity to be able to grow more, to be able to meet, and interact, and chit chat with other people within the hobby, and kind of not market yourself so much, but you know, market yourself and talk to other people and just network basically. So being able to reach out to some of these bigger channels and if you can get them to come in, I think is just very cool. Like when I had Father Fish come on, I'm like my third live stream or fourth one, and I was just
I seen that one. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah,
and Lou seems like he's a pretty good guy.
Yes, and the beauty of it, like with that, I had so many questions I wanted to ask him. You know, to be able, you know, out of anything that I could have gained from having him on there was the ability to be able to pick his brain and ask him some of the questions I wanted to know about. So that's what I love about it too.
That's why you do it backstage.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we may go like on my Waymaker stream. We may go 1 or 2 hours, you know, live, and then we may be backstage 3, 4, 5 hours.
Oh, really? Nice. That's cool. Yeah. The way I have mine scheduled in the morning here, well, for me, I never have to work on a Sunday, so I know this is the one day I have free that I can guarantee that I have open. And then
Right.
in the mornings, I know at this time when I do it, I'm not going to really interfere with family time and stuff later in the day. And
Right.
so that's usually why I schedule it so early. I prefer to have it a little later in the day, but by doing that, I may never guarantee I can actually come on and do it. So in the mornings, it's always just works for me. And so that kind of limits sometimes the guests I can have too. Some people don't like people that may not be in the United States. This is maybe the middle,
Yeah.
like that type of stuff. So,
Yep. That's kind of like my evening stream. I mean, yeah, for people like in the UK, when we go, that's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
very true. Yeah, they're like 6 hours ahead of me. So, are you Central Time Zone?
yeah,
Yeah, same here. So yeah, I think they're about 6 hours ahead of us. So, so yeah.
but there are a few in the UK I'd like to try and get on.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely a good bunch of creators in the UK for sure. I'll say that
Yeah.
much. I talked to Maul from Aquarium Delirium.
Yeah, Mal's one of them I want to try and get on
Yep.
sometime.
Yep, he's a good guy. Very down to earth. I love talking to him when I had him on, and just I talked to him outside of like chat and stuff like that here or there on Messenger. But yeah, definitely some good group of people over in England there to get on.
Another one, I don't know if he's gonna even be making videos anymore, is Andy Woods. I would like to try and get him on sometime but I think he's pretty well done.
Mm. Well, it doesn't hurt to reach out and ask. You never know.
Because Andy was kind of one of the ones that got me into the monster fish.
Okay.
Because he kept big dovi and black nasties and Trimax and.
Would you ever keep a monster fish again?
Well, I still have Oscars.
Yeah. You ever keep a Dovai again?
If I could find a red morph, I probably would.
Yeah.
But they're kind of hard to find.
Yeah. What kind of Oscars do you have?
Right now I have 2 albino tigers.
What kind of, just out of curiosity for myself, what kind of setup do you have them in? Do you keep?
Well, they're in a 75. They're each in a 75. They have their own tanks, and one's got sand, one's got gravel. One's running under gravel, the other is running sponge filters.
I was only asking because
you're keeping one a dirted tank.
Yeah, with lots and lots of plants and no filter and no air. So I was kind of curious. I've kept Oscars in the past. I've kept one with plants before, but I didn't keep the plants. Introduce the plants until it was a little bigger. He did them, but he would pull them out once in a while.
Right.
I hope with this one is that by introducing it young right away with these plants that it becomes part of the tank and it doesn't.
See, my one Oscar, I've had them both since they were about so big.
Mm-hmm.
One I got plants with both of them in both tanks. One doesn't even bother him. He'll look at he just looks at him like, yeah, okay, whatever. The other one, she rips him out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be completely, however its attitude decides to turn out to be.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's about, I don't know how big he is. I want to say like 6 inches or something like that. He's not a monster yet. He's still pretty much a baby.
Oh, so. One of mine is probably 10 inches. The other one's maybe 8 or 9 right now.
Yeah.
The last one I had before these, he was about 13 inches.
Okay. Yeah. When I got this tank initially, I was going to try to make it more of like a nature tank. I had contacted the DNR in Wisconsin here. I wanted to get plants and everything from local waterways and there and try to find some local fish that I could actually obtain to put in there and find like a stump and stuff. But I couldn't find the wood I wanted to. I wanted a nice big stump right in the center of the tank and put like lilies and stuff in there. And I just couldn't find that piece of wood, and it discouraged me. And then I started to think, well, what else can I put in there? Like, what's something that people say that you can't put in a dirted tank, and I want to try it. That's when all of a sudden I kind of Oscar dinged in my head. I'm like, my daughter always loved the Oscar we used to have. I love that thing. I'm like, why don't I try that? But how am I going to be successful at doing it? So that's when I kind of did some research. I'm like, okay, egg crate. What if I put an egg crate in the substrate? I can put that, the dirt, the sand, egg crate, and more sand. I'm like, well, it's never going to get down to the dirt layer. That solves that part. But then plant-wise, well, that's going to be the long-term. You don't know. It was basically my plan.
Yeah, you never know. The other one I had, I kept a lot of hornwort in the tank, floating hornwort, and it would grab it and just take it all over the tank and drag it.
Yeah, the whole back wall of this tank is just completely and utterly full of plants. I've got so many stem plants, and there's some guppy grass at the top, a lot of pogo stem and Stellatus octopus, and it really likes the plants right now, from what I can tell. It likes to interweave throughout it. It hides back behind it. Every single time I come down here, it comes out from the plants and comes up begging for food. I haven't seen any destructive type of behavior yet. Still young. I know once it gets a little bigger, that might be a completely and utterly different situation. So we'll see. Time will tell, I guess, with it, but I'm hoping that it works out. I think I've set myself up for success, but all the fish is really going to be the one that's
my other one, we used to set a ping pong ball on the top of the tank, and he would come up and grab it and kind of shoot it at the glass, and then he'd come down and he'd occupy himself that way for hours.
Really? Mine freaks the crap out of my daughter. I have an egg crate for the actual cover too, and I feed it a lot of times. Well, not every day, but raw frozen shrimp. I'll cut it up into pieces because that's what I feed my puffer fish once in a while too. So I'll cut it up above it, and that fish sees it. It's so fucking food hungry, comes up and bam.
Yeah.
It freaks me out a little bit too because I'm not paying attention. My daughter would be like, ah!
Yeah. It's like my dove. I'd go to feed him. I'd feed him at one end of the tank, and he'd always be at the other end and come full speed, come up and just hit that glass. It's like,
yeah. Plants versus Oscar. My money's on the Oscar.
Yeah, mine too.
I hope you're wrong, Bratton. Yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens. My wishful thinking might be more than reality, but definitely going to hope that it does turn out. We'll see. Like I said, so far so good. I haven't had any issues at all as far as the Oscar and plants go, but we'll see what happens when he gets twisted.
Yeah, it all depends on the attitude of the Oscar.
Yep, that's going to be the biggest thing too. Maybe I get a baby and he's going to be fine and he likes the plants. Maybe he won't.
Yeah, you never know.
I know he kills every single snail I put in there to try to help with algae.
Mine too. Mine too. Like ram's horns, I've got one tank that's just overrun with ram's horn, but that's all I'm breeding in it.
Yeah.
And I'll grab like a net full of them and drop them in that Oscar tank, and by the end of the day, they're all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got some Malaysian trumpet snails that are survived in there, which is good because I like them for aerating the substrate. So at night, in the morning, when the flake comes on first, I'll see a couple on the glass. So I know they survived. But anytime I threw ram horns in there, as soon as I throw them in there, I hear.
The only tank I've got Malaysia, I've got them in two tanks. I've got them in with my tiger barbs, and then I've got them in with my shell dwellers. Yep. And the shellies, they'll pick them, them little multis, they pick them up and they just take them all over the tank. They'll carry them from one side to the other and spit them out. I've watched them take them over and spit them in another shell, and it's just funny with them.
Yeah. The funnest thing for me, I started breeding snails within my aquariums down here on purpose because when I first got my Fahaka puffer.
Yeah, for your puffer.
Yeah, I had some snails to begin with, but I didn't have a biggest population, and I knew I was getting that thing. So I actually went to my local PetSmart, and I was just like, I think it was like mystery snail or something because I was going to try to breed them, a couple of them, for food for the Oscar eventually. And they had pest snails. There was Malaysian and pond and freaking ram's horn snails within their tanks. And I was just like, can you give me some of those? Throw them in my bag. They're like,
Yeah.
the first chick's like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, why? Because that's against our store policy. I'm like, well, that's dumb. So I went back there again like a couple weeks later, and there was a younger girl working. I'm like, can I have those snails? She's like, you want them? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I got them, put them in my tanks, and populations just exploded. That
my LFS, when he gets a bunch of like pond snails or something in, he'll call me up and say, hey, I got a bunch of pond snails or bladder snails or whatever. You want them? You want them? Just come get them. I'll bag them up.
nice.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. That guy went through, when he was younger, a good population of the snails within all my tanks down here in my fish room. But they're starting to build up again. I don't feed him snails every day anymore. I feed him every couple days. I'll throw a few in there, and then I supplement with like frozen raw shrimp. I'll get clam and a half shell, those frozen ones, once in a while.
Right.
Kind of spread it out a little bit. But he's fun. He's so fun to feed. That fish and the Oscar, they're like right next to each other, and they're so personable. And always when I come down here,
I see Jeremy from Aquarium Domain has a fish I've wanted to keep for years, but I just never had the room for it. That was peacock bass. That one he's got is enormous. That's the biggest peacock bass I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, those are beautiful fish. I would love to I mean, I'm never going to have the space for them, but in a magical fantasy world where I got a huge tank or pond I could put them in, I would love to have those someday.
Well, you got to think that 4,500 gallon he's got's 33 feet long.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I would need a tank probably the size of my fish room down here.
That's what his is, the whole end of it.
Yeah. My fish room ain't big. I think it's like, if I had to guess, I never really measured it. I would say probably like 15 by 10 tops.
I went from a 30 by 40 fish room down to a 12 by 12.
Okay. Yeah. I try to jam pack as many tanks, and I would not even tanks, jars, totes, anything I can.
Well, see, my first tank when I was 7 years old looked like a gumball machine, and the dome on it was, looked like a big fishbowl basically. It was like 6 gallons, and it had undergravel filtration in it. I still have it. It's down here now, but they don't make them anymore. I can't find them anymore of them. And I don't have it running right now because the old plastic has gotten so dried out. I'm kind of scared that it'll crack. So I still have it.
Nice. Oh, yeah. It's a joy. I know. For me, my wife, she gets so mad at me every single time. Like my backstory. My stepson likes to get into the fish hobby every couple of years. He buys tanks, gets fish, runs out of time, gets bored with them, and then guess who gets them? I do. The wife is like, "You don't need no more." I'm like, hey, I said, if it's a free tank, I can find room for it anywhere in here. I will make room. I will.
Yep. I've got a 75 gallon that somebody gave me out in my garage right now that the whole bottom's busted in it.
Okay.
And what I did was I put foam underneath of it, and then took glass, cut glass to fit in there, and then I siliconed the whole top of it, set the glass down in it. And I've had it sitting out there full of water for almost probably 2 months now.
Nice.
It's still holding water.
Nice.
But it's one of the old oceanic tanks. The bottom in that thing is probably a half an inch thick.
Yeah. I told my stepkid, like, I say, if this is the route we're gonna go, I said, next time you get a tank, I would really like 125 gallon or bigger.
Or bigger.
Yeah. So could you get one of those next time you get back into the hobby? So when you give it to me, I can start planning.
Right. And next time you get one, get me. I'll take a 240.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My
Brad,
last big tank I actually gave to Curtis when he was here. I gave him, it was a 115 acrylic. I give it to him because I just sitting in my garage collecting dust.
yeah. Yeah. Bratton said, I never understood how people get bored with tanks. Always so many new things to try. Yes, I
That's
agree.
true.
But with my son, he gets busy. He's got a 2-year-old, and he's a big hunter and all that stuff. And he just loses time to be able to do stuff. And then he moves on to another hobby, like hunting season comes up, and then the tanks go back.
Yeah, my two oldest grandkids, they've always kind of helped out with mine. They've been around it since they were old enough to walk, So, and they each have a tank. It's just not at where they live right now. They're here, and I've told them whenever they want them, all they can do is say, and we'll bring it down there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I will get bored with tanks once in a while, but yeah, I will never, ever, ever take them down. Like someone said in here, Red Laser, rotate around the various types of fish types. Absolutely.
Yep.
If I get bored with the tank, that's typically when I start to move things around, and then I get some new fish, and maybe move some new plants in there, or maybe to put a new piece of wood in there, or do something different to kind of
and different trends come and go too.
Yep. It's like I have 2 tanks over here. One's got koi swordtails, and the other one got high fin blue coral varieties. They're not really breeding anymore, and it's getting frustrating to me. And the tanks, I mean, they're just there. So I'm thinking of combining the 2 of them together. I know they can breed together and interbreed, so
right.
I wouldn't be selling them anymore, but I would be kind of interested to see what would come out of them if they would start to breed. So it's something that piques my interest.
Right.
And then that would open up a new tank for new stuff. Although
I've got 2 tanks that are nothing but the Limia Islay, the Tiger Limias. I started out with 9. Mm-hmm. Now I probably got, 200.
Nice.
And then my Lion's Eye Gadeids, they're starting to breed now.
Nice.
My Miller Eye, the swordless swordtails, I got from Jeff Kane. My God, I've got hundreds of them.
Nice. Yeah, I got about 60 rice fish platinum. I'm not sure what kind they are. I got them from Scott over at Raising Fishes down in Texas. He's got a YouTube channel, and he sent me fish eggs because his were rice fish are breeding nonstop in his little tub outside. He sent me a couple batches. The first couple didn't make it, and then the last batch he sent me started hatching out, and I got probably at least 60 fry out of them. So I got them in a little 5-gallon now, just growing them up. So I need an open tank for them. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to wind up doing, putting them in one of the tanks over here.
Yeah, I haven't tried rice fish yet. They are on one of my lists to get.
Yeah, I honestly, I really kind of enjoy them. I got tank back here. I got from both of them were from LRB Aquatics. One was a King Yama. It's like an orange red one. They're really cool looking. And then I've got these rare ones I got from him, these Matano rice fish that are more of a tropical one.
Right.
I'm able to get these guys to breed yet, but I see egg sacs on them, clusters of eggs under the females' bellies in the morning sometimes. So I know they're breeding, but I was told by him, LRB, in an email that basically that they like to predate very much on their fry. So if they're having the babies, they're being hatched, and they're probably picking them off, is my guess.
Right. See, my LFS, they've got some daisies, and then the Medaka. So I'm going to try and pick some of them up. I've got a tank for them. I just got to get it set up.
Yeah. I actually found a couple eggs in that rare Matano rice fish tank this week, so I've been very excited. I have them in a little container with some air. I don't know if they're going to hatch. One of them looks like it went fungus already, but the other 2 have dark cenders, almost like it could hatch at some point. So I'm fingers crossed.
Yeah. I've got some egg tumblers I could use, so
yeah,
if need be, from what I had Africans.
Yeah. Yeah, I just for these rice fish eggs, what I just did is I just got a little longer, shallow Tupperware container. Just put an
Right.
inch of water in. I just put
Right.
phone in. It was just a small bubble, and just
Yeah.
so that was worked. With those ones I got from Scott, I mean, I'd come down here every day and look. Oh, there's 3, 4 more. Take them out, put them in the tank. Come down the next day till they're all gone. Like I said, I got my.
There used to be an old timer here in town when he'd gather the eggs up out of different ones, and he'd actually put them in a brine shrimp hatcher to tunnel them.
Okay, nice. That's a good idea too.
He'd stick a piece of foam in the bottom, and they'd put the eggs down on that foam, and then he'd turn that brine shrimp hatcher on and just let them slowly tumble. But I couldn't tell you how many fish he hatched that way.
Wow, that's a good idea. Yeah, I was a little leery with those Matano ones because they are tropical, and I keep the water. See, there isn't a lot of information on them, so I keep the water temperature at about like 70. I think it's at 73 or 75, so it's not terribly warm at all,
but warm enough.
Yeah, and then I got the eggs in that tote, but there's no heater, so my room temperature down here is probably 68 to 70. So it's really not a big vast difference. So I'm curious to see if they wind up hatching or not, but it'll be a good experiment anyway. So I know if they might need to put some kind of heat on them or figure something out within the tank. I would prefer to have them breed naturally within this aquarium. It's very thick with Dorsage in there. So I'm hoping that some will hatch and wind up surviving and living within the tank. So
they should, as long as they got enough cover, they should.
Yeah, there's plenty in that tank. I used to have them in this other tank, which there was plenty of plants, but there's a lot more open space where this is very thick, and I'm keeping it that way on purpose.
See, that's like with Gambusia. They're live bear, but they will eat their young. They'll predate on them real quick. Yeah. And I've actually had quite a few fry in one of these tanks because the growth in that tank is so thick that they can get down in there, and they get big enough they can't be ate, they will come out. I've got eastern and the western Gambusias.
Nice. Very cool. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I love the hobby.
Yeah.
I just love everything about it. I've never found something that has really struck my passion of wanting to do something than this hobby itself. And I don't know. I wish I would have learned what I know now, like 30 years ago when I first got into it, because I feel like it was so many wasted years of not knowing what I was doing that I could have really learned and done more and been farther along from where I am now. But
right.
You're always learning. That's the thing. No matter how old or how long you've been in this hobby, you're always
learning. It's like some of my tanks I've got, they might get a water change twice a year. Everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like, if I do the water test on it, everything stays the same. In about 6 months, it starts to kind of creep up a little bit. I'll give it a water change.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe only 20%, but
yeah. I go back and forth on it, if you want me to be completely honest. I don't do scheduled water changes at all.
I don't either.
I haven't. But see, when I don't test my water anymore, but when I have been, it's I barely register nitrates. Nothing.
Yeah, and you're chasing numbers.
Yeah, it's like, so there's no reason to do it because of that. My plants are still growing well. I'm not vacuuming the bottom of my tanks anyway. So it's like when I did do water changes, it was just taking 20% or so out of the top and just replacing it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure some of the minerals replacing or oxidization is probably good for the plants, but I'm like, the plants aren't suffering. So I kind of go back and forth with it sometimes. If there's like a reason I need to, I will. I think it's been probably at least 4 months since I've done a water change.
I have a 5-gallon. It's a metal frame running the undergravel that hasn't had a water change in 2 years.
Nice.
Just top up.
Yeah, my Oscar and puffer tank, I haven't done a water change in 3 to 4 months, and no nitrates.
Yeah, they're not even showing on the drip test or on the strips. I don't even, it barely even registers.
Yeah. That's like one of the things I found when I went no filter that just amazed me. Like once I went with a little bit deeper a substrate, before when I had maybe like an inch of substrate and plants, I'd still would, when I tested water and stuff and did regular water changes, I would see nitrates. You know, you'd get to 20 to 40 parts per million. Once I put a little bit more substrate in there, a deeper substrate, and took out the filters and that, then all of a sudden I'm like, I was finding it so weird that I like there's no nitrates, or there's like 5 or 10, something like that, and it's not changing. It's like it got me paranoid to the point like, well, you need nitrates for your plants to grow. So I kept dumping fertilizer in there, but I'm like, the numbers would never move. I'm like, well, why am I doing this? The plants are growing fine; they're not suffering. So,
You think you're getting a full cycle, or you think it's just your plants?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I just it happens in every single one of my aquariums too. So I'm just like, all right, there must be something to this. Like even that 55 gallon I set up that doesn't have dirt, it's got deep substrate. I'm not registering anything in there either. So it's just like it isn't just a dirt thing. I think it's a deep substrate thing. I think it's the
way you run a 3 to 4 inch depth.
Some of them vary. For the most part, it's usually 3 to 4 inches. Some of them are a little deeper. But you know, from listening to like Father Fish and some other stuff I've done research with, it kind of could be that anaerobic area that's producing
could be
nitrifying bacteria that's really eating the nitrates up. That's why I'm not registering it.
There's another channel, I can't remember what the name, I think Aquatics by Nature, I think. He's had a tank set up longer than the one Father Fish has.
Yep.
That has not had a water change.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, I find it amazing. It's just like, but then here's the quandrum. You know, you're used to being down here in your fish room, sticking your hands in, doing water changes, doing this or that, having an excuse to come down here to do stuff. Now it's like I don't do any of that. So now
come down and feed them.
Yep, feed them. So when that was my thing too, I'm like, okay, I'll feed them every day. I don't need to feed them every day. What am I doing? So then,
I feed mine every 2 days.
Yeah. For the most part, I go every other to every 2 to 3. Every 2 or so. The Oscar I feed like probably once every 3 to 4 days. I'm not the Oscar.
No, in a tank I've got fry in. I will feed every day. But
yeah, some of the ones I'm trying to breed, I may feed every day, but not large amounts, just to kind of get them
right
on a breed. But other than that, yeah, no. But so then my excuse basically is just to come down here and I sit in this chair and I just sit back and I look.
That's what they're meant to be, is enjoyed.
Yep, exactly. So
for me, when it became work, it wasn't any fun anymore. And then with health issues and everything, it's like I got to downsize.
Yeah.
So,
sometimes having less tanks and more enjoyment out of them than having a bunch and work, can be better too, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know if I could ever not turn down a tank though, unless you have, like you said, health issues that force you have to do it. So, but all right. Well, let's see in the chat if anyone said anything interesting. We've been chit-chatting this entire time, and I really haven't been looking at the chat too much. Oh, Ron was here from Garage Aquatics.
Hey, Ron.
Prodigal Aquarius. How's it going? See, Branton's here. Red Laser's here. I know I saw Joe from Price Tag Aquatics in here earlier. He's going to be my guest next week. Got a full lineup for December. I've got Joe next week for Price Tag Aquatics. Then I have Kyle from Outside In Aquatics will be coming on the week after. Then I've got my brother from another Canadian mother, Chris Stubbings from Stubb Aquatics will be coming.
I'm working on getting Chris on too.
Yep, I got him on the 15th of December, I believe. And then the 22nd, I've got something special planned. I'm not going to have a guest on that day, but I have something special I want to do and kind of try down here with a live stream. And then, like I said, the 29th of December, that's when I've got scheduled a very, 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 very big guest. It's going to be a special time for that one too. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll announce that one probably on the 15th or the 22nd, like I said, till I
No, it's for sure confirmed.
yes, till I get some actual confirmation
Yeah.
and the link. So, but I think it should be good to go, but I don't want to overstep until I get double. I'm just paranoid.
Right.
So, but anyway, so December's lined up, so I should be some good shows. I've had fun talking with you today, Mike. We're pretty much almost at that hour mark now. Make sure you guys go to Mike's live stream tonight, Sunday Wave. Is it Sunday Wave Makers or just the Wave Makers?
Yeah, it's the Sunday Wave Makers.
Sunday Wave Makers, and you got Branton Lightcap is your guest tonight.
Yep.
And then you do these live streams every Sunday night, correct?
We try to, yeah.
Is that 7:30 Central Standard Time?
Yeah, 7:30.
All right. So everyone should check that out. Go give Mike some support and go chat with Mike and the crew over at the Sunday Wave Makers.
Yeah, usually it's me and Skull Aquatics, and once in a while we'll have Jimmy P pops in on us.
Nice. Yeah, so that's some good banter. That's some good talk and some good fun. So I highly recommend everyone go check that out. And give Mike a sub at M&C Aquatics if you haven't already. I know Bratton's been putting the link in the chat the entire time we've been talking here. So I appreciate that, Bratton. So with that being said, I hope everyone had some fun talking today. I really enjoyed chit-chatting with you, Mike, and getting you know a little better and just talking about this fun hobby of ours. It's always a fun thing to do. So thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Everyone else have a great Sunday. We'll see you next Sunday, and have a great Thanksgiving, which is coming up if that's what you celebrate. And see you guys later. All right.